मे तत्र त्यागे भरतभागो हि पुरुषव्याघ्र त्रिविधः सम्प्रकीर्तितः यज्ञदानतपः कर्म न त्याज्यं कार्यमेव तत् यज्ञो दानं तपश्चैव पावनानि मनीषिणाम् एतान्यपि तु कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा फलानि च कर्तव्यानीति मे पार्थ निश्चितं मतमुत्तमम् नियतस्य तु सन्न्यासः कर्मणो नोपपद्यते मोहात्तस्य परित्यागस्तामसः परिकीर्तितः दुःखमित्येव यत्कर्म कार्यक्लेशभयात् त्यजेत् स कृत्वा राजसं त्यागं नैव त्यागफलं लभेत् कार्यमित्येव यत्कर्म नियतं क्रियते अर्जुन सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा फलं चैव सत्यागः सात्विको मतः न द्वेष्ट्य कुशलं कर्म कुशलेनानुषज्यते त्यागी सत्त्वसमाविष्टो मेधावी छिन्न संशयः न हि देहभृता शक्यं त्यक्तुं कर्माण्यशेषतः यस्तु कर्मफलत्यागी सत्यागीत्यभिधीयते अनिष्टमिष्टं मिश्रं च त्रिविधं कर्मणः फलम् भवत्यत्यागिनां प्रेत्य न तु सन्न्यासिनां क्वचित् पञ्चैतानि महाबाहो कारणानि निबोध मे साङ्ख्ये कृतान्ते प्रोक्तानि सिद्धये सर्वकर्मणाम् अधिष्ठानं तथा कर्ता करणं च पृथग्विधम् विविधाश्च पृथक् चेष्टा दैवं चैवात्र पञ्चमम् शरीरवाङ्मनोभिर्यत्कर्म प्रारभते नरः न्याय्यं वा विपरीतं वा पञ्चैते तस्य हेतवः तत्रैवं सति कर्तारमात्मानं केवलं तु यः पश्यत्यकृतबुद्धित्वान् न स पश्यति दुर्मतिः यस्य नाहङ्कृतो भावो बुद्धिर्यस्य न लिप्यते हत्वापि स इमान् लोकान् न हन्ति न निबध्यते ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं परिज्ञाता त्रिविधा कर्म चोदना करणं कर्म कर्तेति त्रिविधः कर्म सङ्ग्रहः ज्ञानं कर्म च कर्ता च त्रिधैव गुणभेदतः प्रोच्यते गुणसङ्ख्याने यथावच्छृणुतान्यपि सर्वभूतेषु येनैकं भावमव्ययमीक्षते अविभक्तं विभक्तेषु तज्ज्ञानं विद्धि सात्विकम् पृथक्त्वेन तु यज्ञानं नानाभावान् पृथग्विधान् वेत्ति सर्वेषु भूतेषु तज्ज्ञानं विद्धि राजसम् यत् कृत्स्नवदेकस्मिन् कार्ये सक्तमहैतुकम् अतत्त्वार्थवदल्पं च तत्तामसमुदाहृतम् नियतं सङ्गरहितम् अरागद्वेषतः कृतम् अफलप्रेप्सुना कर्म यत्तत् सात्विकमुच्यते यत्तु कामेप्सुना कर्म साहङ्कारेण वा पुनः क्रियते बहुलायासं तद्राजसमुदाहृतम् अनुबन्धं क्षयं हिंसामनपेक्ष्य च पौरुषम् मोहादारभ्यते कर्म यत्तत्तामसमुच्यते मुक्तसङ्गो नहंवादी धृत्युत्साहसमन्वितः सिद्ध्यसिद्ध्योर्निर्विकारः कर्ता सात्विक उच्यते रागी कर्मफलप्रेप्सुर्लब्धो हिंसात्मको शुचिः हर्षशोकान्वितः कर्ता राजसः परिकीर्तितः अयुक्तः प्राकृतः स्तब्धः शठो नैष्कृतिको लसः विषादी दीर्घसूत्री च कर्ता तामस उच्यते बुद्धेर्भेदम् धृतेश्चैव गुणतस्त्रिविधम् शृणु प्रोच्यमानमशेषेण पृथक्त्वेन धनञ्जय प्रवृत्तिम् च निवृत्तिम् च कार्याकार्ये भयाभये बन्धम् मोक्षम् च या वेत्ति बुद्धिः सा पार्थ सात्विकी यया धर्ममधर्मम् च कार्यम् चाकार्यमेव च अयथावत् प्रजानाति बुद्धिः सा पार्थ राजसी अधर्मम् धर्ममिति या मन्यते तमसा वृता सर्वार्थान् विपरीतांश्च बुद्धिः सा पार्थ तामसी धृत्या यया धारयते मनः प्राणेन्द्रियक्रियाः योगेनाव्यभिचारिण्या धृतिः सा पार्थ सात्विकी यया तु धर्मकामार्थान् धृत्या धारयते अर्जुन प्रसङ्गेन फलाकाङ्क्षी धृतिः सा पार्थ राजसी यया स्वप्नम् भयम् शोकम् विषादम् मदमेव च न विमुञ्चति दुर्मेधा धृतिः सा पार्थ तामसी सुखम् द्विदानीम् त्रिविधम् शृणु मे भरतर्षभ अभ्यासाद्रमते यत्र दुःखान्तम् च निगच्छति यत्तदग्रे विषमिव परिणामे मृतोपमम् तत्सुखम् सात्विकम् प्रोक्तमात्मबुद्धिप्रसादजम् विषयेन्द्रियसंयोगाद्यत्तदग्रे मृतोपमम् परिणामे विषमिव तत्सुखम् राजसंस्मृतम् यदग्रे चानुबन्धे च सुखम् मोहनमात्मनः निद्रालस्य प्रमादोत्थम् तत्तामसमुदाहृतम् न तदस्ति पृथिव्याम् वा दिवि देवेषु वा पुनः सत्त्वम् प्रकृतिजैर्मुक्तम् यदेभिः स्यात् त्रिभिर्गुणैः ब्राह्मणक्षत्रियविषाम् शूद्राणाम् च परन्तप कर्माणि प्रविभक्तानि स्वभावप्रभवैर्गुणैः शमोदमस्तपः शौचम् शान्तिरार्जवमेव च ज्ञानम् विज्ञानमास्तिक्यम् ब्रह्म कर्म स्वभावजम् शौर्यम् तेजो धृतिर्दाक्ष्यम् युद्धे चाप्यपलायनम् दानमीश्वरभावश्च क्षात्रम् कर्म स्वभावजम् कृषिगौरक्ष्य वाणिज्यम् वैश्यकर्म स्वभावजम् परिचर्यात्मकम् कर्म शूद्रस्यापि स्वभावजम् स्वे स्वे कर्मण्यभिरतः संसिद्धिम् लभते नरः स्वकर्मनिरतः सिद्धिम् यथा विन्दति तच्छृणु यतः प्रवृत्तिर्भूतानाम् येन सर्वमिदम् ततम् स्वकर्मणा तमभ्यर्च्य सिद्धिम् विन्दति मानवः श्रेयान् स्वधर्मो विगुणः परधर्मात् स्वनुष्ठितात् स्वभावनियतम् कर्म कुर्वन्नाप्नोति किल्बिषम् सहजम् कर्म कौन्तेय सदोषमपि न त्यजेत् सर्वारम्भा हि दोषेण धूमेनाग्निरिवावृताः असक्तबुद्धिः सर्वत्र जितात्मा विगतस्पृहः नैष्कर्म्यसिद्धिम् परमाम् सन्न्यासेनाधिगच्छति सिद्धिम् प्राप्तो यथा ब्रह्म तथाप्नोति निबोध मे समासेनैव कौन्तेय निष्ठा ज्ञानस्य या परा बुद्ध्या विशुद्धया युक्तो धृत्यात्मानम् नियम्य च शब्दादीन् विषयान् त्यक्त्वा रागद्वेषौ युतस्य च विविक्तसेवी लघ्वाशी यतवाकायमानसः ध्यानयोगपरो नित्यम् वैराग्यम् समुपाश्रितः अहङ्कारम् बलम् दर्पम् कामम् क्रोधम् परिग्रहम् विमुच्य निर्ममः शान्तो ब्रह्मभूयाय कल्पते ब्रह्मभूतः प्रसन्नात्मा न शोचति न काङ्क्षति समः सर्वेषु भूतेषु मद्भक्तिं लभते पराम् भक्त्या मामभिजानाति यावान्यश्चास्मि तत्त्वतः ततो मां तत्त्वतो ज्ञात्वा विशते तदनन्तरम् सर्वकर्माण्यपि सदा कुर्वाणो मद्व्यपाश्रयः मत्प्रसादादवाप्नोति शाश्वतं पदमव्ययम् चेतसा सर्वकर्माणि मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्परः बुद्धियोगमुपाश्रित्य मच्चित्तः सततं भव मच्चित्तः सर्वदुर्गाणि मत्प्रसादात् तरिष्यसि अथ चेत्त्वमहङ्कारान् न श्रोष्यसि विनङ्क्ष्यसि यदहङ्कारमाश्रित्य न योत्स्य इति मन्यसे मिथ्यैष व्यवसायस्ते प्रकृतिस्त्वां नियोक्ष्यति स्वभावजेन कौन्तेय निबद्धः स्वेन कर्मणा कर्तुं नेच्छसि यन्मोहात् करिष्यस्य वशोऽपि तत् ईश्वरः सर्वभूतानां हृद्देशेऽर्जुन तिष्ठति भ्रामयन् सर्वभूतानि यन्त्रारूढानि मायया तमेव शरणं गच्छ सर्वभावेन भारत तत्प्रसादात् परां शान्तिं स्थानं प्राप्स्यसि शाश्वतम् इति ते ज्ञानमाख्यातं गुह्याद् गुह्यतरं मया विमृशैतदशेषेण यथेच्छसि तथा कुरु सर्वगुह्यतमं भूयः शृणु मे परमं वचः इष्टोऽसि मे दृढमिति ततो वक्ष्यामि ते हितम् मन्मना भव मद्भक्तो मद्याजी मां नमस्कुरु मामे वैश्यसि सत्यं ते प्रतिजाने प्रियोऽसि मे सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वां सर्वपापेभ्यो मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः इदं ते नातपस्काय नाभक्ताय कदा शुश्रूषवे वाच्यं न च मां योऽभ्यसूयति य इदं परमं गुह्यं मद्भक्तेष्वभिधास्यति भक्तिं मयि परां कृत्वा मामे वैश्यत्य संशयः न च तस्मान् मनुष्येषु कश्चिन्मे प्रियकृत्तमः भविता न च मे तस्मादन्यः प्रियतरो भुवि अध्येष्यते च य इमं धर्म्यं संवादमावयोः ज्ञानयज्ञेन तेनाहमिष्टः स्यामिति मे मतिः श्रद्धावाननसूयश्च शृणुयादपि यो नरः सोऽपि मुक्तः शुभालोकान् प्राप्नुयात् पुण्यकर्मणाम् कच्चिदेतच्छ्रुतं पार्थ त्वयैकाग्रेण चेतसा कच्चिदज्ञानसम्मोहः प्रनष्टस्ते धनञ्जय अर्जुन उवाच नष्टो मोहः स्मृतिर्लब्धा त्वत्प्रसादान्मयाच्युत स्थितोऽस्मि गतसन्देहः करिष्ये वचनं तव सञ्जय उवाच इत्यहं वासुदेवस्य पार्थस्य च महात्मनः संवादमिममश्रोषमद्भुतं रोमहर्षणम् व्यासप्रसादाच्छ्रुतवानेतद्गुह्यमहं परम् योगं योगेश्वरात् कृष्णात् साक्षात् कथयतः स्वयम् राजन् संस्मृत्य संवादमिममद्भुतम् केशवार्जुनयोः पुण्यं हृष्यामि च मुहुर्मुहुः तच्च संस्मृत्य रूपमत्यद्भुतं हरेः विस्मयो मे महान् राजन् हृष्यामि च पुनः पुनः यत्र योगेश्वरः कृष्णो यत्र पार्थो धनुर्धरः तत्र श्रीविजयो भूतिर्ध्रुवा नीतिर्मतिर्मम ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे मोक्षसंन्यासयोगो नाम अष्टादशोऽध्यायः। ॐ शान्ताकारम्
Hare Krishna, I think you can stop the recitation and we will begin the session. Can you hear me properly? Nachiket can confirm whether you can hear me.
Yes, Rohit, we can hear you.
So welcome all of you for today's concluding session on the second part of the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Perfection of Renunciation. We will begin with the invocation. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakkurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Satridatam Sagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savudhutam Paridana Sritam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Shakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Sthite Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhanusvate Devi Pranamami Haripriye Pancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Vasudubhi Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. So last week we did the first session, first part of this 18th chapter. It's one of the longest and the concluding chapters. So hope you can see the screen, the Zoom.
Yes, Rohit, we can see the screen.
Okay, so last session we concluded with this important verse. All endeavors are covered by some fault. So the analogy is given just as you light up fire. So through fire, you can get heat and light. But in that process, you are generating some smoke also. So that doesn't mean, but the fire is, smoke is disturbing us. So for that reason, we cannot stop the fire. So similarly, when we do work, there is bound to be some fault in that. And how are we doing this work? According to our nature. And we have seen that according to our nature, we have prescribed some activities based on the varnashrama. That is, whether you are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Grihastha, Brahmachari, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa. These are natural divisions of society. We can find it everywhere. People have these tendencies, and they have to act within that tendency, because otherwise it will create disturbance in society. If you are forcing someone to do which he cannot do, then he will resist it. And if so, there are many people doing the same job, then also there's a problem. So here there are given some examples how someone may find his occupational duty troublesome. For example, if you're a Brahmana, previously they used to perform cow sacrifice, horse sacrifice. Of course, it's a very heinous thing to kill an animal, but they were performing such sacrifices to elevate the animal and also to benefit the people who perform the sacrifice, provided it was done properly. And similarly, a Kshatriya, he has to be violent. On the battlefield, he cannot be pious. And similarly, if you are dealing in business, you have to hide your profit or engage in the black market sometimes, also tell lies also. And if you are a Shudra, Shudra means you are depending on others, then you may have to accept a bad master. Sometimes we don't like the person whom we are serving, but that doesn't mean we have to quit that job. So these are examples to show that despite the action is covered with some fault, we have to continue because that is our prescribed duty. And now this section begins with a discussion about the Brahman platform. So usually in the Bhagavad Gita, we have three types of knowledge. One is confidential knowledge, Guhyam, it is known as Guhya, which means which is not very obvious, but it's very important. There are many things which are not obvious, but important. Then we have more confidential and most confidential knowledge. Just like the 7th chapter is said to be confidential knowledge, 8th chapter, more confidential, 9th chapter, most confidential. And so why it is confidential? Because it is talking about us. Each one of us are actually spirit soul. And so in this section, Kṛṣṇa describes the transition from reaction-free work through Jnana Yoga to Brahman platform to pure devotional service. So reaction-free work means when you are acting as per the Varnashrama system, following the prescribed duties, gradually you become, you are doing reaction-free work or Nishkama Karma Yoga. So what is producing the reaction? Our desire is producing the reaction in that work. So if we can dovetail the desire properly, then it becomes reaction-free work. So if you are situated in the Varnashrama system, then you can engage in reaction-free work, and gradually you can rise through the three modes of material nature and come to realize that I am spirit soul. That's why there is this verse, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hastini Shuni Chaiva Shvapakecha Pandita Samadarshina. So this Pandita means he can see that the living entity, all living entities are the same in terms of quality, that Satchidananda. And so the next step will be, okay, if I am the spirit soul, then what am I supposed to do? Already we saw that the spirit soul is not the doer. Any action is being carried out by material nature, and the Supreme Lord is in control of that. According to the desires of the living entity, material nature is acting, but the living entity has the free will only to desire, and he has only to change his desires. According to his desires, material nature will act it, provided it is sanctioned by the super soul. Now, when this desire becomes transformed, then it becomes pure, then he is properly situated. So, what is the perfection of knowledge? As we saw in the 13th chapter, it's talking about knowledge, object of knowledge, and goal of knowledge. There it was explained that the goal or object of knowledge is to know that I am the soul, and there is a super soul, the Supreme Lord, and we have to establish a relationship, engage in devotion, and attain love. So this bhakti is said to be the culmination of jnana. That is, first by doing action, karma, you should come to the position of jnana, and from the position of jnana, you come to the position of bhakti. Like generally, when we learn something, first we are told to do the work. In the first year, for example, you go to the workshop, you are told how to do. But then you start wondering whether really I came to do BTech in something, and why am I going to go through this workshop and all. But later, when you are studying the theoretically some subjects, then you know, yes, I learned it before practical work. That practical work has application here. So first, our nature is to work only. Then from that, it should produce knowledge, and that knowledge should produce devotion. Because even if you have knowledge or if you know how to do work, the success of that work or knowledge depends on for whom you are using, for what you are using it. So if that knowledge and if that work is used to serve Kṛṣṇa, then it becomes bhakti and fetches you the desired result. So that is the essence of this section. So in the beginning of this chapter, Arjuna's inquiry was, what is tyaga? Tyaga means sacrifice. So sacrifice has to be done by everyone, just like you have sacrificed some time, energy, money. We're always sacrificing. So, but that can be perfected when you are situated properly. Just like all of us can do work, but when we work for some particular company, we get some salary. The same work, if you do it for yourself, you don't get anything. So that sannyasa means to be that renunciation is applied properly. When that tyaga, sacrifice is applied perfectly, then it is known as sannyasa. So what is real sannyasa? One is to give up the doership mentality in work and attachment to the results of work. What is our basic problem is we are always thinking that I am the doer. So if I do like this, I will get this. But invariably it doesn't happen. First of all, we are not able to do what we plan to do. And even if we do that, we are not getting the result. So first type of sannyasa is to first understand that I am not the only doer, and that Kṛṣṇa has explained by showing that there are 5 factors of action. And success and failure depends not only on us, but it depends on those 4 other factors. And then, therefore, we should not be attached to the results of the work. So what is attached to the results of work means we think I am the doer, and therefore I have the right to enjoy the result. I can use the results as I like. Supposing you get some income. And if you think that I worked hard, so I got this money, so I will use it whatever way I like. Yes, you can do that, but still it is intelligent to use it properly. So that's why. So that is known as not being attached to the results of work, which means although you have a tendency to use the result in a certain way, you use it as directed by some authority. That is known as acting without attachment. When that sannyasi perfects his sadhana over time, so how does he do this? He has to practice this. It's not easy for us to develop this mentality that to think that I am not the doer and therefore I will be detached from the results. This doesn't come easily. So one has to practice, and that practice is known as sadhana. And this takes time. Then he gives up the work completely. So after he will give up both the mentality to do that work as well as the mentality to be attached to the result. So he understands that ultimately this is why people take retirement. Because even we see very good players are there in some games we see. We wonder they were doing so well, then why did they retire? Which means they did not get any ultimate. For us, it may be very entertaining, but they were not getting any satisfaction from work. So finally, they themselves quit that work. So it is possible that a person will also reach that stage where he will voluntarily give up that work. And if he gives up the work, obviously he's taking up some higher work. That is called yoga arudha stage. So yoga has 2 stages. One is aruksha stage, that is the beginning stage. And arudha stage means he has reached the perfection of yoga. So he need not do that work. So what does it mean he need not do that work? He will do some superior work, and that other work which he was doing, he will delegate it to someone else. That's known as the lazy intelligent. Lazy intelligent means dhira. Dhira means he knows what is the best thing I can do. Then automatically the other people will do what is inferior. So this is called yoga arudha stage. That is the second type of sannyasa that Kṛṣṇa mentions now. So till now, in the Bhagavad Gita 18th chapter, Kṛṣṇa has been talking about the first type of sannyasi, who tries to give up the mentality that he is the doer and he is the enjoyer of the results. Gradually, he gives it up. But after he does that, he reaches the perfection in that state. He can avoid certain works. He has the choice not to do certain works and do only certain works. So, what is that perfect stage of sannyasa? One whose intelligence is detached from all material objects. Asakta buddhi sarvatra. Asakta means attachment. Buddhi means intelligence. Sarvatra means everything. One whose intelligence detached from all material objects. What is material object? Material object means it has relatively less value or temporary. So it doesn't mean he rejects it. He knows that this is not so important. Whose mind is controlled. Chitta Atma. So here Atma can mean the senses, it can mean the mind, it can mean the soul. So his mind is controlled. He knows how to engage the mind. He knows how to engage the senses, how to engage the soul. Who is without material desires. Vigata Spriha. So what is material desire? Desires have to be there. Without desiring this, no soul can exist because the desires are there in the Supreme Lord himself. But he knows what is important and most important, less important and least important. So he prioritizes his desires because when you desire for the highest, the other desires come as extras or supplements. Without effort, you can get those things. Just like if you are in a very high post, you don't have to separately arrange for your transport, accommodation, it's taken care of. Similarly, when you cultivate very high desires, then the lower desires, they'll naturally be provided. So how does he do that? By complete renunciation of all activities, sannyasena. So here, what is renunciation of all activities? Doesn't mean you stop activities. He makes the best use of every action and attains the highest perfection of no action and reaction. Naishkarmya siddhya. Just like the Prime Minister is there, he may be the president. He's also in one way directing the army or the air force and the navy. But he is not directly going on the field or the flying or in the water. He is doing his role as the chief, and then under his direction, someone else is executing it. So know how to attain Brahman. Brahman means to, first of all, realize that who am I? Because here it was clearly explained that the soul is not the doer and only material nature is doing, which means if most of the activities in this world are being done only by material nature, then what is my role? What am I supposed to do? So to do that, I should know first of all who am I. Know how to attain Brahman. Having attained such perfection by cessation of all work, one realizes Brahman. So what is the cessation of all work? Does it mean we stop planning anything or we don't desire anything? Yes. Cessation of all work means that to understand clearly that I am not the doer. I can only desire. I can only keep changing my desires. And according to my desires, material natural work. So if I desire in a responsible way, that is also one kind of cessation of all work. He realizes Brahman, the stage of highest knowledge, jnana. So ultimately, what is the purpose of our existence in this world? If we don't understand ourselves, and then obviously we misunderstand others, we don't understand material nature, we don't understand God. So the stage of highest knowledge is to realize that we are the spirit soul. So now here the process of realizing that Brahman. First, Kṛṣṇa is establishing what is the goal of knowledge and how do we achieve that state. So this is a important set of verses. How to attain this Brahma Bhuta stage. Bhuta means realized. Many of us know that we are the soul. Theoretically, we know. But practically, we don't realize it. We don't think and act like that. But how to reach that self-realized stage? Buddhya Vishuddhaya Yukta. Here, Buddhya means intelligence. Vishuddhaya means purified intelligence. So, just like you have refined gold or refined oil, which means it is removed from all the contamination. So our intelligence should become purified by sattvic intelligence. Dhrityatmanam niyamyacha. Dhritya means determination. How do you get determination? By controlling the mind. Just like you want to control a horse, you have to train the horse. Any animal has to be controlled, you need to train it. So similarly, the mind, we can get determination if the mind is controlled. And Shabdajin Vishayam Tyaktva. Shabdajin means sound. Vishayam means sense objects. Tyaktva means giving up. Giving up all sense objects like sound. So what does it mean? Does it mean we don't hear, smell, taste, touch, and smell? So we don't depend completely on that. Just like when you're flying an aircraft, you're able to see outside, hear something, everything, can talk also. But you have to use the instruments because our senses are limited. So similarly, we cannot depend fully on the sense objects. We have to depend on the senses of the soul. Raga dvesho yudasya. Raga means attachment. Dvesha means repulsion. So this is our nature in this world. Always we are liking something, we don't like something. So from any living entity has this dual nature. He likes something, he doesn't like something. But here it says be freed. Yudasya. So what does it mean? So we should not be overpowered. We may have some likes and dislikes, that's okay, but it should not go beyond limits, the extreme. And Vivikta Sevi Lagwashi. Vivikta means secluded. Sevi means living. Living in a secluded place. Laguvashi means, Lagu means little. Ashi means eating or acquiring. So we should live in a secluded place. It doesn't mean, what does it mean? Does it mean you run away from the society? Secluded place means don't get disturbed by what is happening around you. Just like a player in the field, cricket ground is there, people are, big audience is there, but he's focused. So that is also living in a secluded place, and eating little means you know how much I need. Don't try to over endeavor and accumulate more than required. Yata va kaya manasaha. Yata means controlling. What is he control? Vak, the speech. Kaya means the body. Manasa, mind. Always we are depending on our speech. We are depending on our body. We are depending on mind. But at the same time, we have to keep it under our control. We should not talk more than necessary, talk less, or use the body more or less, or use the mind more or less. Dhyana yoga paro nityam. Dhyana means meditation. Dhyana yoga means meditation on paro means Lord. Nityam means absorption. Nityam is always. Then vairagyam samupashritaha. Vairagya means detachment. Samupashrita means taking shelter. So what does it mean detachment? When you are detaching from something, you naturally have to get attached to something superior. Just like if you want to climb somewhere, I am putting on the lower step and putting another step on the higher level, and then I release other step. So like that, I climb up. And ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodam parigraham. Parigraha means free, become free. What do you become free from? Ahankaram, false ego. False ego means to think that I am the body, I am the controller, I am the enjoyer. And balam, here it says all these are false things. It doesn't mean you give up your ego, give up your strength, give up pride. All these are required, but false pride, false ego, false strength, and lust. Actually, our nature is to love someone. Love is said to be very powerful. Just like the mother is loving the child, child as the mother, that's very good, favorable. But when that becomes contaminated, it becomes lust. And anger also very required. But if anger is misused, then it is a problem. And material possessions we need. But you should know the relative value of, just like now this mic is very important. I have to take care of it. But once I go outside, it is not so important for me. I put it in some box and only next week I use it. So we should know what is the relative value of everything. Vimuchya nirmama shanto. Vimuchya means freed from. What? Freed from nirmamaha, false proprietorship. So whatever we own in this world, someone has given us. And therefore, we know that it belongs to me only for a certain time. And after some time, I have to give it to someone. So this is ultimately it comes from God. Freed from false proprietorship. And shanta. Shanta means peaceful, like an ocean without waves. How there can be an ocean without waves? Ocean has to have some waves, but as you go to the deeper into the ocean, then the waves come down. So similarly, we should go deeper into understanding ourselves. And Brahma Bhavaya Kalpate. Such a person can attain Brahman, self-realization. So how do you recognize a person? First, this process has been explained, how to reach that stage. Having reached that stage, what will be our nature? Completely devoid of all contamination of the material modes. How, when we are in the three modes, what are our nature, qualities, all abilities, all that has been explained. But when we become completely devoid of all this contamination, become fully joyful or peaceful. So then you can understand if you are joyful and peaceful, and that is not fluctuating, never decreasing under any circumstance, then you can understand that you have overcome the three modes. A soul, pure soul, that is a pure soul, that is our original nature. After realizing oneself in this way, one can attain pure bhakti unto Lord Krishna. Because all along it has been told that bhakti is supreme. But at the same time, if I ask everyone to do bhakti, they will say so many reasons as to why they cannot do. So, but it is possible. So here it is explained, if you reach this stage, then bhakti becomes effortless. Right now we are struggling to do bhakti, although it is the best for us. Just like a patient is there, he will struggle to do certain things. But once he recovers from that illness, he loves to do that, or it comes naturally to him. Right now, bhakti is not so natural to us because of these contamination. But once we overcome those inhibitions, then this bhakti will be very joyful and help us be peaceful. So here it is explained what is the Brahmabhuta stage, how we progress from this stage, because God is always happy, always eternal, full of knowledge, and he has a permanent form. But right now we are thinking that I am temporary, I have ignorance, and I am not so happy, and I am constantly, my form is changing. But when we realize Bhagavan and we identify, okay, I am similar to him, then we can fully understand ourselves also. Brahmabhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kamchati samasarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate param. One who is thus situated at once realizes the supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. So why the Brahman realized person is happy? It's not that he realizes himself alone. He also realizes Bhagavan simultaneously. Just like if you're completing your degree and immediately job is waiting for you, how happy you will be. Or you're just getting ready to marry and one bride is awaiting you, then it's perfect. So similarly, this just by realizing ourselves is not sufficient. Okay, then what is my connection with God? If you realize that simultaneously, then he never laments or desires anything. Na shochati, na kamchati. Right now, what is our problem? If you analyze all of us, we have two problems, boiling down to two problems. One is we are always thinking about the future, and we are thinking about the past. In that process, we forget about the present. So our mind is like a pendulum, it is swinging back and forth. So, but a person who's in connection with the Supreme Lord, he doesn't have to worry about the future or the past because it is under Lord's control. He knows that Lord has perfect control of past, present, and future. Just like he showed Arjuna the Vishwarupa, which is going to be the future, and he also analyzed the past for Arjuna. So, and samasarveshu bhuti, equally disposed toward every living entity. Right now, our problem is sometimes with our own body, mind, and the next problem is with other living entities, and the highest problem is with God Himself. That's why anything major happens, we don't blame others or blame ourselves, we blame God. That's how people become atheist. How in the world war many people became atheist because they pray to God. Go to all the European countries, very good churches are there. In Russia, Moscow also, very, very good churches are there. People went to the church and prayed that my son, my brother, my father should come back alive. And nobody came back alive. Then they said, no point in praying to God. I prayed, nothing happened. So, he is equally disposed toward every living entity. He understands that every living entity has a connection with God. So God will take care of him, and I just need to relate with them properly. And Madbhaktim Labate Param. In that state, beyond the modes, he attains pure devotional service unto me. For him, it becomes natural to do devotion to God. He's immediately able to understand, just like when the sun comes, you don't need any light bulbs or any spending any energy. We are not spending any energy when the sun is there. But once the sun sets, we have to switch on all the lights, different types of lights for different types of illumination. So similarly, when he attains Bhagavan realization, then three things happen simultaneously. Just like when you start eating, you become nourished, become free from hunger, and you become satisfied. So similarly, when you realize Bhagavan, this devotion becomes very natural to him. He will never do any mistakes at all. Right now, we are doing mistakes because we are doing everything other than devotion. It's like if you want to play with someone, you should be on an equal level with him. So similarly, if you want to relate with Bhagavan, you should be at least situated on the Brahman platform. Now, again, Krishna emphasizes that how by bhakti one can know Krishna and attain his abode. Again, Krishna is trying to emphasize the importance of bhakti. Bhakti means what? Whatever body, mind, and words we are using, that should be engaged on the direction of Krishna. And Krishna's direction is available in so many scriptures. Even if you ask what about the material life, that also he has given very clearly how to live a material life, how to live a spiritual life, go beyond. And bhaktya mam vijanati yavanyaschasti tatvatah tato mam tatvato jnatva vishadeta anantaram. One can understand me as I am. If you want to understand God perfectly, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how he is perfectly controlling, maintaining everything. How is it possible? Only by devotional service. Just like unless you practice engineering or lawyer or a medicine profession, you won't understand that subject and you cannot do anything beneficial to others. So similarly, only when we begin devotional service can we know about God and understand ourselves. Tato mam tatvato jnatva. Here, when one thus knows me fully in truth and is in full consciousness of me, vishate etat anantaram. He can enter the spiritual world, the kingdom of God. So what is so special about the kingdom of God? Already it is explained in the 8th chapter, that many on 15th chapter also Krishna explains about the kingdom of God. How there is no need for fire, moon, electricity, the sun, and then having gone there, one doesn't return back. So the Supreme Lord Krishna is not revealed to everyone. This is already explained in the 7th chapter, 21st verse. Yogamaya Samavritaha. There Krishna is explained. He and his expansions or incarnations cannot be understood by scholarship or speculation. Just like if I try to explain to you about the sun, maybe to some extent only I can explain. But when it rises, you can get a direct experience. So similarly, unless God reveals individually to each one of us, or he comes in different forms, we cannot understand by theoretically. Supposing I try to describe to you how sugarcane juice is, and I tell all the vitamins, so many things, analyze all the constituents of sugarcane juice and tell you, will you get any happiness or experience of the sugarcane juice? Unless I give it to you and you drink it, you don't have a full experience, no matter how well I explain it. So he is known only by performing bhakti under the guidance of a pure bhakta. So devotion has to be done to Krishna, and that too under guidance. So now Krishna will explain how his devotee attains him. Having explained that by devotion he can be understood, particularly, specifically, how the devotee is able to get. So now he's talking about pure bhakti or unalloyed devotion. Working and not working in Krishna consciousness. Activities in bhakti lead to Krishna's abode. So here abode means it's a level of consciousness. Just like in this room, so many things are there. But for example, an animal may also come to this room, but his consciousness is different. So, but activities in bhakti lead to Krishna's abode. Sarva karmani api sada purvano mat vyapasraya. My pure devotee, although doing all kinds of activities. Here, very important point is, although doing all kinds of activity. So, pure devotee can do everything. So he will not say this is good, this is bad. No, that is yes, you must initially you have to start off by saying this is good and bad. But at one stage, you cannot discriminate like that. What is good and bad is again relative. My pure devotee, although doing all kinds of work, always is under my protection. So why he is able to do all kinds of work? He is under the protection of the Lord. Just like the soldier is given some very aggressive weapons, but he is doing it under the protection of the government. And mat prasadat avapnoti, by my mercy. Prasadat means by mercy. What does he reach? Avapnoti, he reaches Shashvatam Padam Apyayam, eternal and imperishable abode of mind. So the Lord enables him to attain, just like when you are applying for a visa, that country is allowing you to come there. Similarly, God has to allow us to come there. So when does he allow that? When we are doing all kinds of activities under his protection. And this way attain his mercy. So just like Arjuna also, he had to kill Kṛṣṇa when he was not having a chariot. And some people say, how did Kṛṣṇa do like this? Is it not injustice? But then it is analyzed. Or why did Rama kill Vali like that? So people raise all these doubts. Or why Aswadhama was killed like that? By Yudhishthira had to tell a lie. So is this right? But it is right because it was under the direction of Kṛṣṇa. So Kṛṣṇa's recommendation for Arjuna is Etasa sarva karmani mai sanyasya matpara buddhi yogam upasritya majchitta satatam bhava. All this, each of these verses are very, very important verses. Just by hearing itself, you can get better. Chetasa sarva karmani, offer all your activities unto me. Maya sanyasya, maya sanya means offer. Chetasa means whatever activities you do. Matparaha, offer all your activities unto me and just depend on my protection, making me the goal of your life. So which means in this, as long as you're in this world, you have to do all types of activities. You cannot say, I will do only Brahmanas. I am a Brahmana, I will do only like a Brahmana. Or I am a Shudra, I cannot do that. I am Brahmachari, I will do only do this. No. Situations may arise, like Bhishma had to fight and Dronacharya had to fight. You can see, all those who didn't want to fight the battle had to ended up to fight. So, but then Krishna says, offer your activities into me and just depend on my protection, making me the goal of your life. That is what Krishna wants. Buddhi yogam upasritya. How you can do this? Taking shelter of bhakti yoga and with fixed intelligence. So you should know the art of doing work. Just like the doctor is also using a knife. And the thief is also using knives, but the doctor is using the knife to benefit others. So taking shelter of bhakti yoga with fixed intelligence. So fixed intelligence means intelligence coming from the soul. The intelligence which is coming from our materially, it keeps on changing. And Vachitta Satatam Bhava. Chitta means conscious, being always conscious of me while doing your actions. Just like Arjuna is always conscious of Krishna, but he is also fighting. He is also becoming aggressive. He is also lamenting. Acting in Krishna consciousness means to act under the direction of the Supreme Lord, just like a faithful servant, not independently. So here the point is, in one sense, this is also independence, but real independence means to depend fully on Krishna. Then you don't have to depend on so many rules, regulations, and people and situations. Acting according to the direction of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita and acting under the guidance of a bona fide Guru, Krishna's representative, are the same. So one may say, okay, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna spoke to Arjuna and Arjuna is eternal associate of Krishna. Maybe he could follow, maybe I cannot follow. Not like that. If you follow the instructions of a spiritual master, then what Arjuna could practice under the direction of Krishna, we can also practice in our specific situation. While working according to Krishna's orders, one naturally has to think of Krishna. So whatever theoretically we are studying in Bhagavad Gita, when we are practicing it in our day-to-day life, we will be able to automatically will remember that. Right now we are hearing this and we'll forget. But if you start practicing Bhagavad Gita, then we'll better remember the verses of Bhagavad Gita and we can apply it. So what is the result? Okay, if I work like this, Machitta sarva durgani matprasada tarishyasi. If you become conscious of me, you will cross over all obstacles in life. That's what God wants from every one of us. He has created every one of us such that we can overcome all the obstacles. If it is not possible, why he will say that? Either he is wrong or something is wrong with us. If you become conscious of me, you will cross over all obstacles in life. How? By my grace. Mat prasada. You do your part and he will do his part. That is guaranteeing. One who acts in Kṛṣṇa becomes the most intimate friend and always looks after his friend's comfort. That's why you see in the Mahabharata war, there were much more powerful people with whom Arjuna was fighting. But Arjuna was successful because he took guidance from Kṛṣṇa and he heard the Bhagavad Gita. So Kṛṣṇa gives himself to his friend and removes all of his suffering. That is the role of God. God is there to help us and to help us overcome problems. Only we have to accept that. What is the result of not following Kṛṣṇa? Someone will say adamantly, no, I don't care about all this. So many people around me, they are not even hearing Bhagavad Gita, they are not following, they are very happy, they are successful. And so, but here Kṛṣṇa says, Atachetvam ahankaran. Why they don't follow? Out of false ego. They are thinking, so far I have been very successful. So many others I am seeing, they are also successful with no knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, nothing, no devotion. So that's what Duryodhana was thinking. But if you do not hear me, act out of pride, na shroshati vinakshati. Na shroshasi means do not hear me. So this Bhagavad Gita has to be heard repeatedly. It's not that once I heard, finished. So atachetvam ahanka. Why we don't want to hear? Out of pride. But if you don't hear me and act out of pride and false ego, you will perish. Vinakshasi is saying. He's not cursing us. He's not condemning us. He's saying that this is what is likely to happen. We become the cause for our own downfall. He is not saying that you don't follow Bhagavad Gita, I'll punish you. Like the Christians, sometimes they say, if you don't follow this religion or Islam, they say you're condemned. You'll suffer in hell. He's not saying like that. Naturally, you yourself will create problems. You can switch off the AC problem. Making noise. One works as per. So what is the problem? Why we will fall down? Kṛṣṇa is explaining here. One works as per his nature anyway. If you don't follow devotion, automatically you will become controlled under the three modes of material nature. And then if you are not awake, for example, immediately you fall sleepy and then dreams take over. Similarly, if you are not Kṛṣṇa conscious, you are not acting in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, then you will come under the influence of the three modes and they will drive you to act against your nature, original nature. Out of false identity, ahankara, and illusion, mohat, if you think of not fighting, such resolve is only misdirection. So here fighting is mentioned, but it doesn't mean Bhagavad Gita is telling that we should fight. Here it means that fighting against our other nature. We want to do something and something is stopping us. Who's stopping us? We ourselves are stopping ourselves from doing what we can do. So if you think of not fighting, such resolve is only misdirection. So we have to, every one of us has to try to overcome all these inhibitions which are caused by the three modes and be situated. We will fight anyway, even against your own will, as you are bound by actions arising from your Kshatriya nature. So if you don't act in a particular way, you will be forced to act against. Just like if you're a doctor and you're not acting like a doctor, some fellow will come and tell, okay, don't worry, let us start some other business. And he will go in the wrong way. So if you don't act in the right way, the nature will push you in the, you see most of the people who have become criminals, at one time they had a very good prospect, but somehow they got misled. So that will what happened. And as you are bound by action arising from your Kshatriya nature, Svabhavajena Karmana. So why Kṛṣṇa explained all this Varnashrama? That is required if you don't do devotion. If you do devotion, you need not depend on those Varnashrama duties. That is only a stepping stone. Just like when you are climbing into the aircraft, sometime previously they used to have a stair, like a ladder kind of thing. They have to, after that you climb into the aircraft, they'll remove that ladder. Isn't it? So like that, this Varnashrama is there to help you to come to Bhakti. Once you come to Bhakti, that Varnashrama rules are secondary. Voluntarily acting according to Lord's direction. So this acting according to law's direction should come voluntarily to us. Right now, it is not voluntary. We are forced, or we totally ignore this. So keeps one safe in all situations, because no one can ascertain one's destiny as the Supreme Lord can. So very important is man is the architect of his own destiny. I am responsible for my destiny. Although we say destiny is controlling us, that destiny is created by us only. Supposing I give you a clay, wet clay, you mold it in a certain way. Who molded it? You only molded it. So similarly, destiny, that Lord is giving the choice to make our own destiny. So the problem is, when we are given the choice to make our destiny, invariably we do the wrong choices. So God says, you make these kind of choices, then you will. Otherwise, one is controlled to act by the modes in which he is situated. Seeing that Arjuna still seemed to have the false concept of thinking he knew everything, and because of Arjuna's inability to give that up, Lord Kṛṣṇa teaches him in a different way in the next 2 verses. So, till now Arjuna is thinking that if I want to do something, I am still the doer. There's something I have to do. So that is a problem. Supposing I tell you a very good plan, and initially you think very good, this plan is very attractive, I have to do very little and I will get so much benefit. But then you rethink about it. Oh, for this I have to still do something. Then you say, no need, I don't want to do, because that's still a problem for you. Because even though that is small amount you're investing, that is also a little difficult for us. If I say just come for 1 hour every week, oh, that is also difficult. But then what to do? Surrendering to the super soul. Now Kṛṣṇa already talked about confidential knowledge. He's telling to explain in terms of you being the soul, but that is not sufficient. You say, okay, all this is very good, but someone has to help me and hold my hand and help me. So that says, Kṛṣṇa is saying, yes, I will help you as a super soul. So you take guidance, surrendering unto the super soul. This is more confidential knowledge. How many of us can do a PhD without a guide? If you have someone to help you or a teacher is there, then we can learn that subject better. So similarly, Kṛṣṇa is present as the super soul to help us act on the platform of the soul. So what is he doing? The super soul is the master and director. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hriddeshe Arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudani maya. So what is happening to all of us? We are seated as on a machine under the spell of material energy, like dolls moving by strings. Right now, we are helpless in many of the actions. We are helplessly doing certain things. Why? Because just like if I'm sitting in an aircraft, whatever speed that aircraft goes, that is my speed. If it slows down, I'm slowing down. If it goes very fast, I'm going fast. I cannot run in the aircraft or sit down and think I'm not moving. Because you have already boarded the aircraft, whether you are depending on it to start or stop. So that is our position. Then what is happening? He is directed by the wanderings of all. What is the Lord doing then? He is directing the wanderings of all of them. He is helping us to make choices. If you use that, take the direction, we make the right choices. If we don't take the direction, we make the wrong choices. And Supreme Lord is situated in the heart of our. Is he far, far away? Is he accessible only for some living entities special? No, he is accessible to everyone all the time, in any body. He is situated in the heart. Heart means he is we can perceive him. And just like if the internet is there only, I am able to communicate. So I am right now not thinking whether internet is working or not. I am presuming it is working and I am doing. So similarly, the super soul is always with us. That's why we are able to do any action. Although we are not conscious about him, without him, we cannot even live in this body. So after changing bodies, the living entity forgets his past. Is Kṛṣṇa, the super soul, the knower of the past, present, and remains as the witness of all his activities. By his order, the material nature fashions a particular type of body to a particular type of jiva so that he may work according to his past self. So material nature is working perfectly to accommodate all our desires. We are not even conscious how my digestion is happening, how my breathing is going on. But the moment the breathing stops or the digestion stops, it will be a big problem. So we are not paying for the digestion. We are not paying for the breathing, but it's happening. This is all the grace of God only. So therefore, surrender unto him. Surrender means you be conscious about him. You take, he's trying to tell something to you. You receive it and follow it. Tam eva sharanam gaccha. Just take shelter of the super soul. Sarva bhavena bharata, with full devotion, all of heart's emotions, Arjuna. So whatever thoughts may come to us, you consult him. Good, bad, ugly, whatever thoughts are coming, at least you consult him and decide. Tat prasadat param shantim, by his mercy. When you are doing like this, he understands. Oh, I'm telling him, he's following me. Then he becomes pleased. That is mercy. You will attain transcendental peace. So, what is transcendental peace? Means you rise above the three modes. Sthanam prapsyasi shashvatam, and you will attain the supreme eternal abode. So supreme eternal means doesn't mean you immediately have to go somewhere to achieve this Kailasha somewhere. Vaikuntha you have to go. No, even while you are situated here, if you are conscious about the Paramatma's direction, then you can attain this. Okay, now going further, Krishna says, now do as you wish. Till now, whatever Krishna told Arjuna, he's saying, I have explained to you this greatly confidential knowledge of the scripture, Gita, the means of understanding karma, bhakti, and jnana. Deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do. Now also Krishna is giving the choices. Every time Krishna is saying, giving him the choices and telling him, you would decide what you want to do. Every step he is giving that options. Iti te jnanam akyatam guhyat guhyataram. Guhyat guhyataram means confidential and more confidential. What is confidential? I have told you that you are the soul. And I also told you that as super soul, you can take direction. Guhyataram. Vimrishyaitat asheshena. Asheshena means full. Vimrishyaitat means deliberate on it. You don't blindly accept me. You think about it. After deliberating on this, you decide what you want to do. So at every step, we have the choices. God is giving the choices and still allowing us to do whichever way we want. He is therefore not forcing us. If we are forcing, something seems to be forcing us, it is material modes only. God never forces us. Either you accept him or you get forced by material nature. Now still Arjuna was silent. So I'm reviewing the very deep meaning of the Gita scripture, glancing at his dear friend Krishna's merciful heart, melted like butter, and he spoke, my dear friend Arjuna, I will now speak the essence of the whole scripture on few verses. Still he is not confident. Arjuna, yes, you haven't given me knowledge about myself. You told me that Paramatma, as Paramatma, you are there to guide me. Still, I want very personal attention. Supposing, first of all, you are not even enrolled in any class. Then you are put in one particular class where the professor is the best professor. But still you want individual guidance. If he can give you, let us say there are 100 students in a class. Very good professor, very good students also there. But still, let us say that professor is able to spend equal time with all the, or sufficient time with all the students. Then it will be great, isn't it? So now Arjuna is thinking, yes, super soul is there, he's guiding all living entities, but can I get personalized guidance? So now Krishna is going to forget about the difficulties in having to review everything. Because Krishna told Arjuna, now you think about what I told and then you choose. Now Arjuna is not able to think about what Krishna told, and even he is not able to decide what to choose also. Sometimes it happens like that. You go to a shop and the shopkeeper tells you everything nicely. If you want him to tell more, he will tell also, but still you are confused. You don't know. Maybe something can go wrong. So this is the essence of Bhagavad Gita, and that can be. So if you see, the essence of Bhagavad Gita is contained in this next set of verses, just a few verses only. So it's not so difficult to understand Bhagavad Gita. What is the essence of Bhagavad Gita? Surrender to Lord Krishna, most confidential knowledge. Krishna has given Arjuna the confidential knowledge of Brahman and still more confidential knowledge of the super soul. Now he will give the most confidential knowledge of surrendering unto the Supreme Personality God. In other words, each of us has a personal relationship with God. It is not like he's having. No. All of us has a very unique relationship with God. Again here, my supreme instruction, that is what Krishna wants us. He wants to reciprocate with us individually, personally. Paramam Vachaha, the most confidential knowledge of all, Sarva Guhyatamam, I speak this for your benefit. Because you are my very dear friend. He thinks us to be very dear to him. And he also wants us to think about him like that. How? Having faith in my authority. Sarva guhyatamam bhuya srinu me paramam vachaha ishtosi me dridam iti tato vakhyami te hitam. Krishna tells Arjuna again, here the supreme and most secret knowledge greater than what he has said, because he has already revealed it at the end of chapter 9. Already in the 9th chapter, Krishna has said, Manmana bhav madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Now, after that chapter, again he has given more details. Now again he is repeating that instruction now. Krishna will now repeat it to stress the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. In fact, it is the essence of all scriptures. There is no secret greater than this in any place, from any cause, by any means. Any place, you say, no, maybe only in India, no, anywhere you go in this world or higher or lower worlds, there also Bhagavad Gita is applicable, because Krishna got the blessing from his Guru Sandipani Muni. Whatever Krishna speaks, it will be famous in all the world. So Bhagavad Gita is not only here, it will be discussed in upper and lower planets also. And any place from any cause. So normally we are trying to understand the cause of something. Any problem is there, you want to understand the cause. But Bhagavad Gita can give all that knowledge about what is cause and what is the effect. And by any means, okay, once you have understood this is the cause and this is the effect, how to go from here to there, that also this knowledge is given here. What is that knowledge? Very important verse, 18.65, just like 9.34. The essence of Bhagavad Gita, devotion to Krishna. Now the question is, how can we be devoted to Krishna? Manmana. Manmana means always think of me. When can you think of Krishna? Only when you understand his greatness, glories, all the scriptures you studied, pastimes, all that you hear. Then you can think of me. Bhava madbhakto, become my devotee. What is becoming a devotee means? Okay, he has told so much, let me follow those things. He is telling it for my benefit, like a doctor is prescribing for the patient. So let me follow his instructions. Madhyaji, worship me. Worship me means you start using your body, mind and words to please him. Mam namaskuru, offer your respects to me. All the time you should remember that he is there to help us. That is offering respects to me. Mam evaishya satyam te pratijani. Thus you will come to me. If you do like this, these 4 things if you follow, what is that? Manmana, always think of me. Bhava madbhakto, become my devotee. Madhyaji, worship me. Mam namaskuru, offer your respect. The same first part is already mentioned in the 9th chapter. What will Krishna do? If you do these 4 things, what will he do? You will come to me without fail. That is, he is promising. Pratijani, I promise you. Priyosime, because you are my dear friend. These 4 benefits he will give you. He will ensure that you come to him, and that too without fail. For guarantee is giving. And then he himself is promising it. So nobody can break it. God himself has promised. Suppose the Prime Minister has given some signed letter that President has given. No authority below him can overrule that. So Krishna himself promising me. Why? Because you are very dear to him. And so what you should concentrate on the 2-handed form of Krishna. Some will say, why can't we worship Vishnu? Different forms of God are there. Can I worship all of them? No, this is sufficient. Krishna himself showed in the 11th chapter that the 2-handed form is the source of all the forms, including the Vishwarupa. So just focus your attention on this original form of God, Krishna with 2 hands carrying a flute, the bluish boy with a beautiful face and a peacock feather in his hair. This is very clearly explained about the features of God, name of God, qualities of God, activities of God. So Krishna excludes other possibilities of thinking of him by being a jnani or yogi, etc. So basically, Krishna is making the choices very, very clear. No, if you still say, no, I will do this, then it's your mistake. One should serve Krishna by all one's senses, by hearing, chanting, seeing his deity, cleaning temple, picking flowers, etc. So these are all practical ways how we can be a devotee. Madhyaji means worshipping Krishna by offering him flowers, garlands, ornaments, incense, lamp, gandha, naivedya, umbrella, and chamara. All these descriptions are given in the other books like the Nectar of Devotion. How we can day to day, throughout the day, we can do some activities. And Mam Namaskuru, how do we offer? Means to fall on the ground with the whole body, offer respects to Krishna by touching the body to the ground with 8 limbs, Ashtanga, Sashtanga Namaskar, all this. Mami Vishizi means by doing one or all of the above 4 activities, one can attain Krishna. Attain Krishna means Krishna becomes yours, just like the Yudhishthira, the Pandavas, they got Krishna to be on their side. Although Krishna doesn't take anyone's side, they won him over. Krishna makes an oath, I will give myself to you. So now one may say, how is it possible for men whose hearts are contaminated with unlimited sins to perform pure bhakti to Krishna like this, unless those sins are first destroyed? Because earlier in the 7th chapter, Krishna says, unless you tesham tu antagatam papam, to come to devotion, you have to overcome all your sins. And now we are nowhere near to that goal. So then he said, you should do the varnashrama dharma. That also we are not able to follow. Now Krishna will answer that even if one is not freed from sins, one can surrender to him and he will deliver them from those sins. Just like you have so many debts and you are wondering how to remove all those debts, and you go to some person who can waive off all those things, then that will be great. So this is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shushaha. Give up all varieties of religion. Sarva dharman means you think I have to do this, I have to do that. So many priorities you have kept. But he is saying give up all varieties of religion. If you make the one goal, then all those things will fit into that goal. But if you focus on each one of them, then you will lose track of the main goal. So if you make your main goal as surrender to Krishna, then whatever activities you may do, they will help you to reach that goal. Giving up all varieties of religion, mamekam sharanam, just surrender unto me alone, not to demigods or other forms of God. Aham tvam sarapapi. What is the benefit by doing this? I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions, because all the time we are doing some mistake or the other. There is no perfect. Even Brahma is doing mistake. We hear so many stories how Brahma became attracted to a woman. Shiva did this, that, all that we hear. So if they themselves are doing mistake, what about us? Then Krishna says, I should deliver you from all sinful reactions. Even if you do some mistakes like that, if you surrender to Krishna, mokshayishyami ma shushaha. Mokshayishyami means deliver you, which means he'll help you to overcome those sinful actions and their reactions. Do not fear. So you may fear, maybe no, yes, no. Say don't fear, and therefore don't worry. Final conclusion is, so Krishna talked about Brahman, super soul, Varnashrama, Sannyasa, Tyaga, sense, mind control, meditation, etc. So much he has given, but he has described in so many different ways of dharmas. The problem is people don't come to devotion. Instead, they make these different choices. So Krishna is laying it out clearly before Arjuna that these are all the choices for you. But if you take any of these choices, you will end up struggling only. Better you come to me. And now in the concluding the Gita, he says that Arjuna should give up all such process and simply surrender to Krishna. So what does it mean? He has explained the relative merit of all those processes. And having given the highest process, because Arjuna is intelligent, he is saying, you just do this one. Okay. And so Krishna is instructing the whole world, taking Arjuna as the means. So although Arjuna could reach this conclusion, as far as we are concerned, we will go towards any of these other things. So therefore, Krishna is trying to instruct us through Arjuna, what is the benefit of directly coming to the level of Arjuna. One should give up anxiety for one's own welfare or that of others. Right now, our anxiety is mostly about ourselves or those related to us. But then, just like Arjuna was in anxiety about himself and his family members. So he said one should give up anxiety for one's own welfare or that of others and surrender unto Krishna by one's thoughts and actions. So if you come to, just like if you pour water to the root of the tree or put food to the stomach, the entire body of the tree gets nourished. If you surrender to Krishna, you will take care of all of your obligations. That he will ensure. Otherwise, if you try to do it on your own, then you don't achieve anything. Now, having completed his teaching, Krishna will now speak of the glory of the Gita and the result of hearing it. Falashruti. Having given the instructions of the scripture, the Gita, the Lord now indicates the process for passing on this knowledge. So having got this, we may lose it. Anytime we get something very valuable, we take casually and we lose those things. You might have experienced it. So in order not to lose what he has given, he's telling, glorifying it. And then he's telling, okay, I have given it to you. How will you give it to others? How should you give it? And glory of studying and teaching Bhagavad Gita. These teachings of Gita are not to given. First of all, Kṛṣṇa is telling to whom not to give. Because if you give it to someone who doesn't know the value, you yourself may lose interest in that. Supposing you thought something is very valuable and you went and gave it to your friend and you said, oh, this is nothing. Then you also start thinking maybe this is not so important. So, Atapaskaya, not one who is not austere and sense controlled. Abhaktaya, without any true devotion. Ashrushave, unwilling to hear, not engaged in obedient service. Abhyasuyati, envious of me. If these four qualifications are there within us or within others, they are not qualified to receive this Bhagavad Gita. Who are not austere, self-controlled, who are without devotion, who are unwilling to hear or engage in service, or envious of me. Then, what are the benefits of teaching this to the who doesn't have these bad qualities, or who has? Yayidam paramam guhyam madbhakteshu avidas. Who is a bhakta who doesn't have those four disqualifications? Yayidam paramam guhyam madbhakteshu avidasyati. Avidasyati means he explains. You have to explain this supreme secret of Bhagavad Gita to my devotees. Bhaktim mayi param kritva. Will attain pure devotional service unto me. So, immediately, right now we are not pure devotion, but if you start giving this to others, you will also purify yourself. Mam evaishyati asamshaya, and come back to me without doubt. What coming back to me means, you come and establish a relationship perfectly with God. And he says, without doubt, asamshaya. Nasatasman manusheshu kaschin me priyakritamaha bhavitava na chame tasmat anya priyataro bhuvi. He becomes most dear to me, which means he will be in his records. He will never forget you. And there is no servant in this world more dear to me. Who is giving this knowledge to others, he becomes very dear to me. And nor will there ever be one more dear to me in the future. So once you have entered in his record, doesn't mean, okay, like that, like me, so many people will be coming. And then he will not have time to spend with us. No, he can spend time with each of his pure devotees that we see in the cows are there. So many billions of cows are there, and he's able to reciprocate to each of them, and billions of gopis are there. He's able to reciprocate individually with all of them. The benefits of studying the Gita: one who studies adhyeshyate, this sacred conversation, dharmyam samvadam. So many conversations are happening around us, all the internet, movies, newspapers, books are all conversations only. But this conversation is sacred. One who studies adhyeshyate, which means you have to put some effort to understand it. He worships me by his intelligence. He is making the best use of his intelligence and or sacrifice of knowledge. Jnana yajna. He is making the best use of his knowledge. Whatever knowledge I have acquired, I may be a doctor, lawyer, or whatever you may be, you have acquired already some intelligence. But that will be make the best use of it if you have knowledge of this Bhagavad Gita. That's why Sun God is there. Sun God is actually doing a lot of service to the universe. But he received the knowledge from Kṛṣṇa, Bhagavad Gita. What is the benefit of hearing this? One who listens with faith. First important thing is faith. And without envy, anashuyava, means, okay, he told something, I still don't like it. So that we should not have. Without envy, becomes free from sinful reactions. So he will know what is right, what is wrong, what he should do. Attains to the auspicious planets where the pious dwell. He will get association of similar people. Right now, what is our problem? We have so many plans, we want to do so many things, but we are not able to do because we don't have people who can understand and reciprocate with us properly. But if you practice this properly, you will be surrounded. Naturally, you create your own favorable environment. Thus, by teaching, studying, or at least hearing, one will attain great transcendental results. So, either of these ways. Now, what is the realization of Arjuna? Now, having given the class to Arjuna, Kṛṣṇa wants to hear from Arjuna, just like we have a feedback session. Okay, Lord Kṛṣṇa asks Arjuna, "Oh Partha, have you heard this with attentive mind? ekagrena chetasa. Because Arjuna came with a disturbed mind. Now is your disturbance, mental disturbance gone? First thing he wants to know that. Or your ignorance, ajnana and bewilderment, sammoha now dispelled. Because that was the main reason where Arjuna surrendered to Krishna. That is, I have lost my ignorance or intelligence and I'm bewildered, confused about my duty. So he is asking if the objectives for which you came to me, have they been fulfilled? Okay. Now, what does Arjuna say? So, why we have to hear what Arjuna felt? Because we may also have these doubts. Okay, if I hear this Bhagavad Gita, will my doubts get clear? So, on behalf of us, Arjuna is saying, Nashto mohas smritil labda. What he got benefit? My illusion is now dispelled. Doesn't mean the world is disappearing. The problem didn't remove. The problem was there. But his understanding of the problem changed. My illusion is now dispelled. Smritil labdva, I have regained my memory. What is the memory? He also knows what is right and wrong, but he is forgetting. So he could now he could become firm in what he knew. And Tvat prasadan maya achyuta. Achyuta means infallible Lord, he's saying. Which means he has understood, he is convinced that God can never speak the false. It is true. Tvat prasadan. All this happened by your mercy. He is acknowledging that God has, Krishna has tried to help him for his benefit. Sthitosmi gata sandeha. Sthitosmi means I am firm now. And gata means gone, free. What? Sandeha, all doubts. Whatever doubts he had, he clarified in that time. Even if you were to get doubts in the future, in principle, they are addressed now. And karishye vachanam tava. Now I'm ready to follow your instructions. Now doubts are clear. Does it mean he will not get doubts? Yes, there may sound, but that's only details. Those details can be clarified then and there. Okay, Krishna consciousness is acting according to Krishna's order. What is Krishna's order? Is already given. Open book, Bhagavad Gita is open to everyone. The constitutional position of living entity represented by Arjuna is to act in such Krishna consciousness. Here Arjuna says, what else can I say? Ask. I am given up all doubts, surrendering to you completely. Without worries, I am now completely trust you and follow your orders. So in principle, if we accept Bhagavad Gita, the details will be revealed to us individually by the spiritual master or in course of time. The beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Dhritarashtra inquired from his secretary Sanjaya about the scene on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So Dhritarashtra also was trying to understand what is happening. Although he was blind and he was far away from the battlefield, he was curious to know what is happening. So we are also curious, what will happen to me? What will happen to those related to me? What will happen to others? So many things we are curious. But Dhritarashtra inquired from his secretary Sanjaya. He had to depend on his Sanjaya because Sanjaya was blessed by Vyasa and he could see what is happening there. About the scene of the battlefield of Kurukshetra. We are first of all trying to understand what is happening around us. That itself, we are far from that. So by the grace of Vyasadeva, his guru, Sanjaya could see that scene within his heart and describe it to Dhritarashtra. Now Sanjaya is sharing his realization. Now first we heard from Arjuna. Now what about Sanjaya? This is second. First Krishna is directly speaking to Arjuna. That was witnessed by Sanjaya. So like that, what is Sanjaya's? Is it something different from Arjuna? Yes, it is different, but conversation of Krishna Arjuna that I have heard is wonderful. Adbhutam, he is saying. Even from the third person point of view, maybe because Arjuna is a friend of Krishna, he is saying, oh, very good, all my doubts cleared. What about us? His doubts got clear, but what about my doubts, you may say. Sanjaya is saying, I have heard is wonderful that my hair is standing on end, Roma Harshanam. Which means this experience which Arjuna had can also be experienced by us. By the mercy of Vyasa, I have heard. So here the very important point is by the mercy of Vyasa, by the mercy of the spiritual master. Although we don't have a guru like Krishna, if we have a guru who is coming in the disciplic succession, just like Sanjaya had the mercy of Vyasadeva, the most confidential talks on Bhakti Yogam, what is very difficult to understand for us is directly from the master of all mystics from Krishna. Because Krishna is perfect, Arjuna is perfect. Okay, they are both perfect, they are discussing something. But how is it applicable to me? Uh, as Arjuna was fortunate enough to understand Krishna directly, so by the grace of his Guru Vyasa, Sanjay was also able to hear Krishna directly. One can understand Krishna through the medium of the Guru. So Krishna, he'll provide us, each one of us, a Guru. We cannot have the same guide. Everyone has, a guide also has some capacity. But whereas Krishna sends some Guru, he can accept unlimited disciples. That is the power of the Guru. I repeatedly recall this wonderful sacred conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. He is not able to forget it. Normally, we forget something we learn. After we practice, also we forget. But here, Sanjay is saying, just by hearing them, I am repeatedly is coming to my mind. I take pleasure being thrilled at every moment. It is thrilling for him, even though he is not participating in the war. He is just by remembering this dialogue, he is getting a great experience. As I remember Krishna's wonderful form, he is not seeing Krishna face to face, but by hearing about this, he could just hear it. Just like previously, there was no TVs and all. Only the cricket matches used to come through radio. And the commentator used to describe so much, so nicely that you can visualize it. So similarly, he heard only. But by hearing what Krishna and Arjuna were discussing, he could visualize that. And Rupam Atyadbhutam Harehe. I am struck with wonder, Vismaya, more and more, and I rejoice. Krishyam, repeatedly, and my hair stand on end again and again. He is getting the same experience with Arjuna. He is not different from what Arjuna is experiencing. That we can see from his physical symptoms. So we can get the way. So this is the conclusion. Amazing combination. So how we can make our life perfect? So that is explained in summary here. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna. Wherever there's Krishna, the master of all mystics. So what is greatness about Krishna? He is all perfect. He is all beautiful, all famous, all renounced, all strength, all knowledge. So he is perfect. He's already having that. He didn't have to do something to get it. So he is the master of all mystics. Yatra Partha Dhanurdaraha. So what is Arjuna's qualification? Supreme archer, which means he was ready to do what Krishna says. That is his greatness. So if you are ready to accept Bhagavad Gita and follow that, what is the benefit? Tatra Shrir Vijayo Bhutir Dhruva Nitir. These are the benefits of Bhagavad Gita. There will certainly be opulence. Opulence means, as I told you, 6 opulences are there. Because strength, beauty, knowledge, fame, renunciation, and wealth. So this will come naturally. Tatra Shrir Vijaya, victory. We want victory, of course, doesn't mean all the time you'll be victorious. Something you have to lose, and ultimately you'll be victorious. And Bhuti means prosperity. Dhruva means extraordinary. Niti means morality. And Dhruva means extraordinary power. So this opulence, prosperity, victory, extraordinary power, ability to do something, and morality. All this you will do by following the rules. Sometimes you try to violate the rules and succeed. Without even violating, you put so many conditions, constraints. Still you follow all those rules and still succeed. That is great, isn't it? That is my opinion. The Dhritarashtra was hopeful of the victory of his sons, assisted by great warriors like Bhishma, Drona, Karna. So we may think that all this will help me. So many people are there, so many qualifications I have, so many materials are there, instruments are there. But like that, Dhritarashtra was hopeful of the victory of his sons. But after describing the scene on the battlefield, Sanjay directly confirmed to him that victory will be on the side of Pandavas due to the presence of Krishna and Arjuna. That was the first inquiry of Dhritarashtra. What did my sons and the sons of Pandu do, having assembled to fight? Basically, he was thinking what is going to happen. So now Sanjay is telling straight away to Dhritarashtra that you have no chances of victory. Even now, if you want, you can stop the war. You can call back your son. I have shown you, Krishna has shown the universal form, and it is concluded that Pandavas will be victorious. If you want, still you can stop it. Okay. So this is the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. Thank you for your patient hearing. Any comments, questions? So each one of you can ask or even say something what you understood from this session. One point, just one carry away point. Just like if you make curd, when you're making curd, milk is there, just add 1 spoon of curd. Overnight, the whole thing becomes curd. Similarly, if you understand even 1 point of Bhagavad Gita, you read even 1 shloka of Bhagavad Gita, gradually you come to understand and appreciate the entire Bhagavad Gita. Yes, Hare Krishna. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Okay, his question is, Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yume Bhaktya Prayacheti Tad Ashnami Bhagatam. That is, if you offer me with love, a fruit, flower, water, I will accept it in devotion. So then he's asking why someone has to perform animal sacrifice, because we mentioned that sometimes the Brahmana has to do an animal sacrifice. So for everything, to do any action, there is a qualification. Just like a doctor is there, he is qualified to do a surgery. So I cannot do it. For me, I should not be permitted to do that because I don't have the qualification. But he is also doing it he knows how to do it and why to do it and what is the benefit of that. Similarly, these Brahmanas, when they performed this animal sacrifice, they were doing 2 benefits. One benefit was the animal which was sacrificed, it could directly get a human body. Because if the animal has to evolve through different life forms and come to the human life, it takes many lifetimes. But if they were chanted proper mantras and performed that sacrifice properly, that animal would get a human birth. In that same, at the time of the sacrifice itself. And secondly, that sacrifice was being performed for the entire universe. That's why we have that Yudhishthira performed this Rajasuya Yajna, which means he was performing the sacrifice for the benefit of the entire universe. Even the demigods came and took part in that sacrifice. So in that kind of sacrifice, they have to chant the mantras properly. So how do I know whether I'm chanting the mantras properly? Just like if an instrument is there, you are going to use that instrument. But first you test it and see whether it is working. Similarly, to test whether I'm chanting the mantras properly, they do a litmus test kind of thing. They put an animal, old animal, which is about to die. They sacrifice it and it rejuvenates itself and gets a new human body. So first, when they are confident, yes, the mantras are being chanted properly and we are seeing the benefits right away, then they proceed to do the actual sacrifice. Okay. So for that, you need qualification. So if you are qualified to do a different type of offering, if you cannot do all those big offerings, at least you offer me a leaf, fruit, flower, and water. That is the least you can do, which is available to everyone, which is universal. But as you increase your devotion, you will to do much better things. The same fruit, you can give a very good fruit. A leaf can offer a better leaf. So like that, there are many things you can offer. But if you cannot do that, at least you do this. And if you can do a sacrifice which will benefit the animal and whole sacrifice benefits everyone. But of course, this sacrifice is not recommended for Kali Yuga. In other yugas, they could do that. But in Kali Yuga, but the principle is that if the sacrifice which you are doing is beneficial to someone and it seems to be harming someone else, you have to see the overall picture. Just like we are sending the soldiers to the battlefield. Of course, a few people may die also. But in that process, you are protecting many more citizens. So you may say, no, I want the soldier also and others also should not die. Means it's not going to happen. You have to lose something. So that the intention of that statement was that any sacrifice you do, if you are doing it for a good cause also, there will be some negative things in that. So, but still you should not hesitate. Okay, just like the doctors are there, when they are learning to become a doctor, they have to kill some animals. They have to do surgery on that animal. So you should not say, no, without doing all that, you should become doctor. It's not possible. So something we have to sacrifice for the higher purpose, but that should be under the guidance, proper guidance. Then it is permitted. Okay, thank you. How to stop this screen? Yes. So what it means is the Bhagavad Gita is so vast. You cannot give everything to everyone. Now I spoke for 1.5 hours. Obviously, all of you didn't get everything of it. Something got registered. So that means that is your capacity. So which means some austerity or doing some sense control you have. So if I say immediately next day you follow entire Bhagavad Gita, it will not going to happen because you have control senses are limited. To that extent, you will be able to follow. So same thing Bhagavad Gita when I am presenting to some people, we have to see that person's capacity. And supposing nobody is coming to the class, which means I am presenting in a way that they are not able to follow. So according to the Desha Kala Patra, according to time, place, circumstances, this has to be spoken. Now I spoke for 1 hour, but actually I can speak for longer or even shorter. Yes. Yeah, that's what one has to be sincere. Kṛṣṇa also said in the 10th chapter, I give the intelligence by which they come to me. But that is also to the extent that we are sincere. So ultimately, sincerity is for our own benefit. You cannot cheat someone. Yes, that is correct only. Although Kṛṣṇa is giving these advantages that, okay, forget about your past. Even if you have done the most sinful acts in the past, if you surrender to me, I will deliver you. Deliver means you will still show the right path. But after that, following the right path is your choice. But still you say, no, I will keep on hearing and keep on doing whatever I want to do, then it's a problem. Ultimately, you lose faith also.
Particularly, everyone has to become permanently and all have to surrender everything to God.
So here Karma Yoga can also mean Bhakti Yoga. That depends on the quality of the work. Work may be the same, like Arjuna is also fighting. The work is also one type of Karma Yoga, but add Bhakti to it.
This nature like the water and then you have to really show that then we can force the direction. Back to the this direction.
It's a very important instruction that if you don't follow these instructions, some other instructions will drive us. That's happening all the time. So we have to make a choice. We cannot postpone these things. Thank you. Yeah. So he's saying that just like a example we gave, that sugarcane juice, we can explain it in so many ways. But unless you taste it, your experience, that knowledge is incomplete. So similarly, this Bhagavad Gita has to be practiced. The practice comes from Manmana, Kṛṣṇa saying that you chanting, we are going to do one round of chanting afterwards. That includes all these four things. Manmana, Bhavamad Bhakto, Madhyaji, Mam Namaskuru. These four things can be done simply by chanting the Mahamantra also. We will do that shortly. Yes. And do the beats. Yes. Normally they don't do. That's not possible also unless they come in contact with the devotees. Because they are satisfied with that. They don't see anything beyond it. Unless supposing I'm a rich man, famous man, and everyone is accepting me as a rich man, a famous man, I become very proud. But let us say I come across someone who is more rich and more powerful, and naturally I become interested in that person. So similarly, the jnani or the yogi or the karmi, he thinks he is great. Karmi because he is able to go to heavenly planets, karma yogi. Jnani yogi is able to achieve liberation. The Ashtanga yogi is able to achieve mystic powers. They think this is perfection. Only when they come across a devotee, they may realize that they are not ultimate. So unless they come in contact with the devotee, they cannot advance from there. They become stuck in that position, and they are not satisfied. That's a very important verse. Bhukti mukti siddhi kami sakali ashanta. Krishna bhakta nishkama atayeva shanta. Bhukti mukti siddhi kami. Bhukti means you want only enjoyment. Some people are there, I just want to enjoy in life. Then mukti kami. Mukti kami means okay, they have had enough of enjoyment. They want to be free. They want to stop doing certain things. And through siddhi kami, and some person is getting happiness from so many mystic powers. And he's able to do this, that, so many things he's able to do perfectly, and people are praising him, glorifying him. Whatever he wants, he's able to do. But all are ashanta, sakali ashanta. That is proven fact. Why Indra? Indra is the king of the demigods. But he also does something very abominable things. Why? And the person who is full of knowledge also, he does something foolish. We have seen some chess champions also. When they lose one game, if you see, even a beginner in chess will not do such mistakes. So even the jnani can fall down. Yogi, so many yogis are there. But they do so many mistakes. They are perfect in some areas, but they do some blunders. Why? Therefore, they are ashanti. They are not happy. Kṛṣṇa bhakta nishkama. When Kṛṣṇa bhakta is concerned, he doesn't want the benefits of karma, jnana, or ashtanga. He's only interested in pleasing Krishna. Atayeva shanta. Because Krishna is the only one who's peaceful. Even heaven people are not peaceful. Those who are liberated also, they are not peaceful. Those who have mystic powers also not peaceful. You see, some people are able to do roadside magic. You and I cannot do. He's in the road. He's able to do magic, but why is sitting on the road? So even the mystic powers, they have all these three categories, they are not happy. But because Krishna is the only one who is the source of all happiness and peace, the devotee, although he doesn't have karma, the results of karma, jnana, ashtanga yoga, because he has connection with Krishna who has all these things, he becomes peaceful. It's like you are a son of a very rich person. You may not be so educated, so much capable, or so much knowledge or practice, but because you are a son of that person, you get benefits without even endeavoring like these other three categories. That answer the question. Okay, we'll chant one round. This is the main essence of the Bhagavad Gita. Essence of Bhagavad Gita is chanting this holy name, Mahamantra. Because this Mahamantra revolves everything, all knowledge. So how do I know my chanting is beneficial? When I understand Bhagavad Gita, I understand, yes, my chanting is good. But ultimately, the purpose of everything is to chant properly. Even Bhagavad Gita, we know we may not be able to practice. That's why Kṛṣṇa himself appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Even though Kṛṣṇa gave Bhagavad Gita, we saw that people are not able to practice Bhagavatam also. So he had to appear as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and introduce this chanting of the Mahamantra. Okay? Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. So, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare